Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Colseth.
I went right back into the next segment without you. Sorry.
Telling people about the Flame giveaway.
Joining us now, the Reverend Dr. Matthew Heise, Executive Director for Lutheran Heritage Foundation. Dr. Heise, welcome to the Coffee Hour.
Good to be with you.
It is always good to catch up with you and learn more about what is going on with Lutheran Heritage Foundation. Share with us about where Lutheran Heritage Foundation is serving our neighbors around the globe.
Well, we are working actually in about 96 countries around the world and over 150 languages for the past 30 years.
That is amazing. So many languages, so many people being reached with that. What are the types of resources that LHF provides to our neighbors around the globe?
Well, we will kind of cover the entire gamut of Christian education, beginning with children's Bible story books. Then we'll move on into catechism teaching, and all the way up to the Book of Concord for people who study in seminary. So we really try to cover a little bit of everything, devotional material, you name it. What drives it is what the field needs.
So you guys do so much good work translating into so many different languages, all of these materials. What difference does this make for people who you're able to provide all of this material, these Lutheran resources for people around the world?
Well, I was just communicating with Dr. Nicholas Salafu, who is our translator for northern Ghana. And Dr. Salafu got his Doctor of Ministry degree from Concordia Seminary, St. Louis. And he told me that the language of Kusal, which is the dominant language group where he lives in Baku, up in the far north of Ghana, does not have Christian resources in their language except for the Lutheran Church. We're the only ones who provide resources in the local dialect. And so what does that mean? Actually, he starts up, over 10 years ago, he starts up a Lutheran school, Concordia Prep, which is now over 1,000 students, and half of the students are Muslim. So it's a wonderful opportunity to actually be able to teach people who are outside the faith as well, because they just don't have a lot of resources in their own particular language. That's why that 150 plus, and we keep looking for more languages, becomes so important.
Language. That is such a complex, I'm sure, challenge trying to translate things, but you have a team of people that are experts that serve together to bring these resources to our friends and to our neighbors around the globe. What does that process look like to bring these faithful resources to translate them into the languages of so many people?
Well, first we try to find contacts with a Lutheran background. And that means we're going into so many different places. Sometimes where they really have not had a Lutheran church at all. For example, Mongolia, which the Lutheran church is just very young and very fresh. And one of the things that we like to do ultimately is have our regional directors like Dr. Ted Nathalong over in Asia and Dr. Dinku Bato for Africa. And since they both are from other countries, Ted from Thailand and Dinku from Ethiopia, they know a little something about translation. They've done translations themselves. And so they can begin to lead and guide people and talk to them about the process and how important it is, and also rechecking and back-checking in those translations.
What are some of the exciting projects happening right now? I know we check in with you pretty often about the things that are happening, but what's coming down the pipeline?
Well, some of the things that we're doing right now are in Africa, I think in particular, are most exciting because this is, people don't recognize, this is the largest Lutheran continent. It's not Europe. It's really Africa now. And this is where the church is growing, but it is also beset by lots of strange doctrines that can lead and confuse people in a different path. So we are now having opportunities because you get so many people who live in remote regions. we have a project, Project 72, where Jesus sends out the 72 to teach and preach. And we're doing that mostly right now in East Africa. And Dinku and our partner from the Evangelical Lutheran Mission Diocese of Finland, Reverend Tuomo Simioki, are helping us with that project so that we can work with our own Office of International Missions and Reverend Shawan Trump to begin to reach these other people and also train them. So if you can hold a seminar with someone, provide resources for them in their local language, then you leave and they now are trained and they can train others. So we're really trying not only just to do the translations, we're trying to say, okay, what happens when I've got a book and nobody can explain that book to me? I need to really actually begin to unpack those things. And so we all need a little bit of guidance. I remember, in Russia in the early years when I used to go over there when it opened up in the 90s, and you'd have Mormons handing out their literature, and people who had no Christian background at all couldn't make heads or tails. What is this? Is Jehovah's Witness a part of Christianity? Well, no. Why is that? Can you explain that to me? And so, one of the things is the What About series is something that we've had a great opportunity to translate now in African languages, because a lot of those questions, what about abortion? What does this mean? What about same-sex marriage? All these different topics that are now reaching many areas around the world. And what does the Bible say about that?
Speaking of reaching around the world, I know that the travel was limited a couple of years ago. Have things opened up? Has it been easier for your team, for you to travel, to meet the people that you're serving around the globe?
Yes and no. Yes, because Ted Nothalong, we're saying our prayers for him today. He's flying over to South Korea right now, and he'll be heading down into Thailand, also to help train some teachers and Bible class leaders. So he's been able to get back to Africa, to Asia. Dinku is planning to go to Africa next week. So that's going on. For me, I can't get into Russia anymore. That's really complicated. And getting into Ukraine, obviously, right now is a non-starter. So my wife and I are hoping this fall we are planning to get into Germany, where there are many Ukrainian refugees, in Slovakia, so that we can once again see, okay, what can we do to help them? My wife is a Ukrainian native, now an American, full-fledged American citizen, but so she's got a passport and she can travel with me and hopefully be able to talk to some of the folks, experience what they're going through, and to provide them with some of the materials that we can provide, at least the spiritual materials.
Yeah, it really is ongoing work for you. And you guys walk alongside us as well in our ministry as we share the gospel of Christ around the world. And we really appreciate that collaboration that we have between KFUO and Lutheran Heritage Foundation. Why is it important for you and LHF to partner with us as we do this work?
Well, you have a reach that you can't imagine either. We get many calls from people who are doing immigrant ministry in the United States. And they said, we heard about you on KFUO. So you are a link for us. We're able to actually make those connections because, sometimes you think, okay, we can reach a certain amount of people. We can't reach everybody. You guys really have a format to reach people around the world, but also within the States. And so we're getting phone calls from people who said, yeah, I heard this. Can you help me with something? So, for example, Hmong Ministries. The Hmong people are a hill tribe group up in northern Laos and Vietnam, and they actually have language schools now that were set up by my dear late friend, Dr. Ku Saying, who was a Concordia Seminary prof before he passed away of cancer a few years ago. And those language schools that he set up are continuing because now these immigrant groups want their kids to retain the old language. Well, they don't have materials, but we have Lutheran materials, and many of these are not believers. So one of the pastors, Pastor Shong from Merced, California, can do this, and he can actually continue what Ku started. And so, this is just another opportunity of bringing people in the faith. And how do they hear about us? How do others do? Well, you guys provide that opportunity through the commercials on KFUO, through these interviews with me that you conduct regularly.
Well, we are certainly grateful for your partnership with KFUO as well. It's a win-win. You know, we have the opportunity to tell the good news of Jesus and share your story of bringing that good news of Jesus to so many people around the globe. We're grateful for our friends at Lutheran Heritage Foundation and the great work that you are doing. And Pastor Heise, we are just so grateful to have time with you this morning. Thanks for being our guest on Sharathon. Our friends, you can find out more about Lutheran Heritage Foundation by visiting lhfmissions.org. Dr. Heise, thanks for being with us today. Dr. Heise, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Andy and Sarah, for all you do. We're very grateful.
You are listening to the Coffee Hour on KFUO, Sharathon 2023. We have more in just a moment right here on KFUO.